One of the most effective ways that you can save time and energy before getting out the door to go for your run is to come up with a pre-run routine. So in this video, I'm going to share with you 5 steps that I've learned over the last 20 years that will radically change your running experience, just with a little bit of organization. What time are you planning to run? If you can have a little bit of foresight or block out some scheduled times in your week that you're going to schedule in some runs, it helps the fueling and preparation for that run be so much easier to organize. So step number 1, lock in a time that you're going to run. I mean, it seems like a little bit of a random thought just to lock in a time before you run without any context, but let me explain why. The second part of what I wanted to share with you is the fueling part for your run. If you can lock in what time it is you want to run, then fueling, the nutrition, the food, the water, everything that you need to help energize yourself for that becomes a whole lot easier. So if you've got a long run plan for tomorrow morning, well, obviously that means that last night you can start to schedule a really high carb meal. You don't have to back out on carbs if you know that tomorrow morning you're going to get up and really need them. Also, as it gets a little bit closer to the run, even though you might have fueled last night, what's nice is a little top up a couple of hours before you actually get out the door for that run. Now, the truth is there is so much research which contradicts each other and contradicts anecdotal experience for runner to runner. So what you eat is going to vary. Don't worry if it doesn't always line up to the research, because sometimes what feels good for you on paper should be rubbish. For example, I'm a sucker for a bowl of oats about an hour and a half to 2 hours before I run. Research says, hey, do your best to steer clear of high fiber food, so it's not a good recommendation. It's something which is going to vary and which is very individual. What works for me doesn't necessarily work for you. But if you can have that time locked in and play with a few different fuel sources at a few different time periods before you run, see what feels good, and then start to implement that on a more consistent basis. It's going to take a little while to establish, like anything, but it's an important phase of making sure that your energy levels are high before you get out the door for that run. Number 3 is know your workout. This just saves a whole heap of mental energy that you would otherwise spend guessing your way through the workout as you leave your door. So if you're leaving the door and you've got planned an easy run, then it's an easy run. Don't get halfway through and think, oh, I feel fantastic, I might make this a harder run. Because consistency over time is our goal. Some days you're going to feel great, some days you're going to feel rubbish. What I would recommend is having a schedule in place. Know how to structure your training. In fact, I've linked a video just here which is going to help you structure that training if you haven't had any experience with that before. And to the best of your ability, stick with that particular structure. It just means that when you get out of the door or when you wake up in the morning, you know what's in store for you. It's not constant guesswork. It's that constant guesswork that burns so much energy. So eliminate that from your timetable and take this structure out the door and commit to it with some confidence. All right, step number 4 is get yourself a little warm-up or stretch routine. What does that mean? Well, a stretch routine is just a 5 or 10 minute practice that you put in place before any of your runs. So if you're going out for an easy run, you might just go through a couple of static stretches. Maybe you start picking it up, making it a bit more dynamic, bringing some movement into it, and just making sure those legs and those joints are a little bit more mobile, a little bit more ready. They're aware of what's coming to them, you might say. If you're doing a session, you'll do your warm-up and then bring in 5 or 10 minute stretch routine just before you run. All right, and lucky last, number 5 is what is your post-run routine? I can hear so many people saying, oh, Ty, you said this was a pre-run routine video. Well, ideally, after your run, you're going to be preparing for your next run. So the post-run recovery is all a part of that process. So what a lot of athletes like to do, highly recommend after a run, is coming home to a high carb, high protein snack, maybe some rice cakes with peanut butter, something just to refuel those energy stores that you just lost out. Maybe you jump on a foam roller or you go through a little stretching routine like what I've linked just here. But what you want to do is make sure that you're taking care of your joints, taking care of your body, taking care of your nutrition and hydration after that run, so that next run you're ready to go again. Guys, there are a lot of different ways that people like to adjust and manipulate these ideas. This is simply a foundation for you to start from, but a really solid foundation. So would love to know other suggestions, other things that work for you in the comments below. But for the time being, good luck with your running, guys, and I'd love to know how you found this. Let us know.